I think my love for country music comes from the fact that I grew up in a single wide trailer in Appalachia. You kind of can't escape country music when you live in that environment. But I think I truly fell in love with it when I discovered Dolly, Reba, Shania. I remember seeing Reba on TV for the first time and being like, I have to be that, whether it's a redhead or a country singer, and clearly I chose the harder option. So I think there's sort of like some campness that I fell in love with, but really I think the truth is I fell in love with country music because of how honest it is and how you can really get away with being really vulnerable with just a guitar or piano, where you can't really do that in other genres. The country artists that inspire me are mostly the women. Dolly, Reba, Shania, Carrie Underwood, Kelsey Ballerini. The list goes on and on. I feel like I'm influenced by all of them, specifically the women of 90s country. There's so many that I saw myself in growing up. That's the problem, is we don't really see ourselves a lot in our community in country music. And so we have to look to the ladies to kind of find ourselves. And then, some of the men like Vince Gill and even Brad Paisley, who wrote with such like a comedic effort that I also loved. So I would say mostly women and a few men, maybe. My experience in country music, especially as someone in the LGBTQ plus community, has been very challenging. It hasn't been dissimilar to my experience growing up in a very conservative religious environment, where I had to sort of maneuver very specifically and know how to censor myself and edit myself and prepare for whatever room I'm walking into. And I think, unfortunately, in country, there was an effort on diversity for a while, and then it feels like in the last year, something has completely shifted where they don't really care about that anymore. They're not really putting people of color or queer voices on country stages anymore, where they were really making an effort to do that. So it's just like the entertainment industry, except for it's in the South. So everybody's nice to your face, so you don't actually know where you stand with people and whether they're going to put you on that stage or give you that opportunity. So there's a lot of guessing around, like, am I not getting this opportunity because I'm gay, or is it because I'm not good, or because I'm not ready? There's a lot of ambivalence around like what the real reason for some of the stonewalling might be. My experiences in the industry have definitely changed the way that I think about country music. Like I mentioned before, it's not dissimilar to my experience with religion, where I've had to sort of refine my own love of it. I felt the same way with country music over the last couple of years, where I kind of feel like the man who knew too much, where like I had this dream and I loved this genre and I moved to town, and then it was like Wizard of Oz and I saw behind the curtain and was like, oh, nothing's real. No one knows what they're doing and everybody's kind of a piece of crap. So like I had to re-fall in love with country music. That's where I'm at right now. And I'm also having to make amends and make peace with the fact that some of my heroes have let me down just in the past couple of years. And it's really difficult to kind of like reframe your mind. So right now I'm working on really falling back in love with what made me love country music in the first place. The inspiration behind Michigan really is my mom, the relationship with my mom. I came out 12 years ago, and I grew up in a really conservative, independent Baptist family. That's where I fell in love with music. And so there's been a lot of trying to separate that from myself. But in dealing with the relationship with my mom, we've been best friends since I was born. And when I came out, it was a lot of turmoil, a lot of trauma, a lot of stuff that I didn't expect. And so Michigan is really sort of like this northernmost place in my brain that I go to, that relationship kind of sends me to when things are going downhill. And I sort of live in that northernmost, coldest place in my brain that's isolated and alone, and I kind of spiral. And so Michigan's about like coming out of that and going back to that and looking at all these reasons of why this person isn't fully loving me. And I also recently, I've realized that it sort of is a song that can be related to even friends who, like, when you have an issue with someone and they would rather lose everything than lose one fight. And I think it's a really important conversation to have with people around, like, let's not worry about losing the battle. Let's focus on winning the war. I think there's two main things I hope people take away from the music that I write and perform. There's kind of two separate styles of writing for me. One is the very like deep, authentic, artistic, poetic stuff like Michigan. That is very much me in a room by myself, really digging deep in the dark and finding out who I am. And I hope people take away from that just how much they need to do that for themselves, that just how important it is to dig deep within yourself and share that with other people and get that out there. It's not only therapeutic for you, but it helps other people as well who are going through that. And then I think the other type of song that I write is like just straight up commercial pop country that's like very hooky and sort of takes you away from your existence. There's an element of escapism in that. And so I would say those are the two things that I hope people take away is authenticity and also just a freedom and an escape from reality.